Welcome to Channel of Athletes, baby. This is an ACG production original. Please do like, subscribe, and subscribe, and subscribe. Then maybe comment, but please do subscribe because I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers as soon as I possibly can. And I'm desperate, like a crack fiend, waiting for another dose. You still haven't subscribed. But this is an ACG production original, as said, Chat of Athletes, and welcome. Welcome to Chat of Athletes, baby. Welcome back once again. I am here once again to give you the lowdown, to drop a lot of information as much as I can, to attempt to be as entertaining as I can possibly be. And yeah, I'm here. If you see the new look, don't mind too much of it. Cut my hair a little bit. I'm trying a different look. I haven't tried this look in probably almost about a year now. Yeah. Over a year, actually. Over a year. And I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of enjoying it. This might be my new look now. But yeah, welcome once again, Chat of Athletes, your host, Koketo, your guide through this entire experience, through this entire journey of engagement. And I hope that you enjoy. And yeah, man, let's get into it. Okay. The reason why last week's episode didn't drop was because I didn't like how it looked, so I scrapped the whole thing. So now I've come back. I think I wanted to start off with similar topics because I don't feel as though much has changed from week 4 of the NBA heading into this week 5. This is being recorded on, what's the date? Jesus Christ. On the 22nd of November. So yeah. But I think my general approach to all of this is just simple. And it's not only the most interesting teams in the league. Last week's topic was going to be top 4 most interesting teams in the league for me. And this week, it's more of my general assessment from week 4 into week 5. And so I'm going to mention some of the teams which have been playing well that I noted from week 4. And they've still been playing well until this point thus far. And yeah. But the first team I wanted to talk about was the Pheonix Suns. As we all know, they got the big trade where they got Bradley Beal for Chris Paul. Chris Paul then ended up being traded to Golden State. And my whole thing with that particular team, it's less about the quality of the players and their capabilities and all of that. It's more about the same concern I had at the start. And I'm going to mention once again, when I started this year, the first initial episode was meant to be my top 5 most interesting teams heading into next season. And one of them was the Pheonix Suns. So I initially thought that Pheonix weren't going to be that good because I wanted to see the setup of the rest of the entire roster to suit those 3. Don't get it wrong, they have a championship caliber coach. They have a championship caliber stars, you know. So all that needs to happen is just things to align for them. And it's been a big concern for me. We've only played 13 games this season so far. 14 taking into account the games that were played overnight or last night. And my question with the Pheonix Suns was from the onset and does continue to be availability. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, there's a general consensus, and there's like understanding that health is always the biggest thing to success in sports, more or less, right? If your best players are healthy and they're consistently available, you put yourself in a better position to win on a night-by-night basis. But with them, it's more of a, well, will they be healthy question, right? Where am I coming from this? Beal hasn't played, okay, right? So currently they sit 7th in the East, 9th overall in offense, 20th in defense. And yeah, we get it. And we currently taking precedent from the previous season. we can say that you don't need to have the best defense to win a championship, right? And taking from 2 years back, one of the biggest reasons, or 3 seasons back, one of the biggest reasons why the Milwaukee Bucks ended up winning that championship was because Brooklyn went down with injuries. Brooklyn was on the verge of a blowout, if we're being honest. I thought if Kyrie hadn't gotten hurt, that series was probably going to be a 4-1 or a sweep, right? But they failed to get over the hump. Why? You lose James Harden to injuries and you lose Kyrie Irving to injuries. Sure. And prior to that point during the season, they hadn't gotten much game time, all three of them on the court together. Now, how does that tie into Pheonix? So how, you might ask yourself, that doesn't even make any sense. It's an Akago Pheonix. Here's how it aligns to the Phoenix Suns situation. And like I think I cut myself before saying this because I wanted to say this now. Bradley Beal hasn't played over 60 games since the 2020-2021 season. And I'm sure people are wondering why. How is that of any importance or any relevance? Well, if your best player isn't available and not available at the most crucial times, it affects how the team plays or the results at the end of the game. If I'm the best player on my team and I'm not available, obviously, Joe, I'm in a situation of which I'm needed. Fine, shift away from that. Beal is an injury-prone player. As far as recency, he's prone to injuries, right? Picks up a knock, misses 2 or 3 games. Like so far this season, he's only played 3 games, and there's already 13 games been played. And what sparked up this entire chat is the Phoenix Suns. It was something from the NBA app popped up on my feed last night, notification. I didn't get into it. I didn't want to read it because I wanted to judge my own opinion. I didn't want to get influenced in writing this down. But I understood where it was coming from, so I looked at it from the lens of... So the question was, is the other stars not inconsistent availability putting down Kevin Durant in terms of, is it wearing and tearing Kevin Durant physically that when he gets to the playoffs, he can't sustain it, right? Because KD's 35, 36. He's a old man, okay? A high-level old man, but still an old man. It's a fancy joke, no? So now we're finding ourselves in a situation of which we don't know what we're going to get. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what the product at the end of the day will come or play itself out to be. Now, with that being said, back to Bradley Beal's point, he's only played 3 games this season, and the big 3 in totality haven't played a single game together in the season. I think they might have played 1 preseason game together, but they haven't played any in-season tournament game or any regular season game together. So now it begs the question of, when Bradley Beal is healthy, will he be healthy at the right moments? And will Kevin Durant as well be healthy? Because over the past 2 seasons, KD has experienced some freak injuries, of which naturally shouldn't occur, in a game where you don't expect to happen, right? And Devin Booker has been getting hurt. I think last year he missed a large chunk of the season, and this season he started off a bit iffy, inconsistently in and out of the lineup. So we do have to ask ourselves certain questions and say, are they going to be healthy? It's not about the numbers. And it's also about when on the floor, all 3 of them, how will it look? We haven't seen it yet. We don't know what it'll look like, right? We can only judge off of, okay, this guy's an elite scorer. They're all elite scorers. KD will always get his 18 to 20 shots, and it will always be a 50% shooter from the floor. That's guaranteed. He's a plug and play. Anywhere you put him, that will always be the end result. So he'll always average around about 27, between 27 and 31. That's KD guaranteed. Now, what we've seen with the offense is that Book is more of the facilitator, right? Will he be that when Bradley Beal comes? Will Bradley Beal be the facilitator? Will Bradley Beal want to pick and roll with, Yusuf Nurkic? Like, what does it look like for this team? And if Bradley Beal does come in, who drops off to the bench? So it's really interesting how it can play itself out, how it can shape itself out. But I don't know with Pheonix. I can't judge off something I've never seen, I haven't seen before. But I understand, right, when people put them in a tier 1 contender, as tier 1 contenders, it makes a lot of sense. They're actually, on paper, they look very scary, but what's on paper can never be guaranteed in real life. Now we're going to move on to another team that got benefited, I could say, in a sense, from the Chris Paul, and I should have said from the Bradley Beal trade, which is Golden State, right? And they got Chris Paul. And, you're signing a vet, a guaranteed top 75 player. You have Steph, another guaranteed top 75 player. You have Klay Thompson, a guaranteed top 77 player. So we're put in a situation of which we have to ask ourselves certain questions. Is Golden State good enough? I don't believe it. I don't believe in what Golden State has. And it's not because they lack the capabilities. It's just that the roster construction plays to their biggest strength, but their biggest strength is also a significant, I could also say to an extent, their biggest downfall. And it's size, right? And it's at what point do we say to ourselves, you need to get an actual big who can actually crash the glass. You need to have size in the paint, right? Because they're playing a very small five. Golden State plays small, shifts the ball around, spread out the floor, move the ball, crush the glass, shoot threes, crush the glass, get rebounds. You have Looney, who has not the height, but the fundamental skill set to be able to get rebounds, right? You have Draymond Green, not the height, but the IQ and the fundamental skill set to get rebounds, right? You get Dario Saric, I think, who's a bit of a stretch form rather than a 5, right? But they sometimes shoot them to the 5. So it's like, what the flip is actually going on? Like, it's very... Golden State's lack of size really shows up when they play teams with size. You can see when they play OKC. You can see it when they played Timberwolves on a back-to-back. You can see when they played Pheonix. They struggled to handle big teams. And we're shifting to a point of which the NBA is definitely going to a point of which if you make it into a playoff situation, you're going to play teams bigger than you. I think one team with the similar lineup to them is obviously not the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Sacramento Kings, in terms of they also don't have the biggest size. So they play Golden State ball, basically. And you can't beat Golden State at their own game. Not yet, at least. Right? So that's one side of it. But then the other side of it is they aren't good enough at anything. They aren't excellent enough at anything that you kind of don't see the other side. And what do I mean by that? Golden State are ranked 15th in defense and 14th in offense. They're not the most weakest defensive team, but neither are they the strongest offensive team. They're like a mid-table. If in soccer terms, we call it a mid-table team. Like, you're just good enough to survive currently at the moment. And one of the reasons when we won the championship in 21-22, we had a flipping phenomenal offense. You couldn't stop our offense. You weren't expecting it. There was a lot of similar to how we play now. Move the ball rotation, spread the floor. But there was a lot of fluidity to it. There was a lot of continuity to it from the previous season because the team had some continuity to it. They felt as though they were one of the better teams. As I think, I forgot who. Toscano Anderson. He said that we felt as though we were the best team heading to that season, and that makes sense, right? But now they're definitely not the best team heading into the season. They feel as though they have a chance to win because of experience. The Lakers are in a similar boat when it comes to experience. You have championship caliber teams. The Bucks are in a similar boat when it talk about experience. So we need to ask ourselves at what to focus on here. we need to ask ourselves, what do they need to do? Because I don't ever think they'll be the best defensive team in the league. Never. Especially when they don't have size. But for me to actually consider them contenders, they have to have a great level of offensive fluidity, right? And the reason why offensively that they've fallen, because I think at some point they were like 5th or 4th, is because they lost to teams bigger than them. I think they went on like a 6-game losing streak before they beat Houston. And it's like, of course that's going to affect your offensive rating. Because you can't beat teams with size. And a majority of the league has size. That's why you lost to Cleveland. That's why you lost to Minnesota. That's why you lost to OKC. Like, these losses aren't incidental. Though at times one possession games or 2 possession games, it's about the ability not only to stay in games, but to have an element, not only of surprise, but that makes you dominate a team. That makes you kill off a team. And I don't think they're there yet. Do I think they could get there if Klay Thompson gets back into the frame in terms of gets his rhythm and flow and everything? Possibly. But I still don't think they can beat the top teams in the West. I can't see them beating Denver in a 7-game series, unfortunately. I can't even see them beating Minnesota in a 7-game series. Okay, wait, that's a stretch. I can see them beating Minnesota in a 7-game series. But it's a thing of Golden State play, they can't guard us, but they can't guard anybody else either. It's like a shoot-off, basically. And teams with a better defensive rating tend to beat them. So it's like, come on, man. They need to load more in one area and bank on that to take them all the way, for them to actually have a shot at winning the championship. Well, don't get me wrong, they'll make it to the second round of the playoffs, but they'll get bumped out again in 6 or 5 this time around, depending on who they get. Because just like any sport, the NBA is about matchups. And if you get a bad matchup, you're effed. Like, you're really put in a very difficult situation to do anything. And you hope they don't get a bad matchup in the playoffs. You hope they don't get a Minnesota. You hope they don't get a Lakers. But that's it. I think I'm probably going to speak about the Warriors. If they go in a 10, like a 10, 12 game winning streak, or they find a way to trade for a big, and then they have sizes, right? And then they have a pick and roll game that's going and flowing, and they play a lot more better. Because right now I don't rate them as highly. Unfortunately, I'd love to, but I don't. So that's one side of it. That's all in the East. That's all in the West. But I want to go East. I want to go to the Pacers. As I'm recording this, they played the Pheonix. They played the Atlanta Hawks last night. And it was a shoot-off, right? It was, and I'd like to talk about these two teams simultaneously. And I'll try. I've never done this before, but I'm going to try and speak about both teams simultaneously. And I'm sad that I missed that game and I could only see the highlights, because it was so entertaining. It was exactly what I hoped to see, because I saw the Pacers schedule and I'm like, oh, that game is going to be good, right? Because Atlanta has found their rhythm again. They found their rock. They found their structure, their system, how they want to play. Then you have the Pacers, who have traded for a few pieces, got the right people, and has some sort of continuity, taking the steam and the momentum they'd gained from last season. Don't get me wrong, Pacers had a winning record until Halliburton went down. So let's not talk about them like they were trash, right? Now you have a team that's top 10 in offense in Atlanta. You have a team that's number 1 in offense in on the other side in the Pacers, right, in Indiana. And what was interesting about that matchup was it was the guard situation, right? Because seeing from the highlights, my favorite part obviously was Tyrese shooting his threes and seeing that form that he shoots with, but it was also the second unit that Atlanta likes to play, that Quinn Snyder likes to play, and it's the is the Bogdanovich lineup, which has Bogdanovich and DeJounte Murray. Sure, the starting five is strong and all, but I prefer that lineup because I'm a massive Bogdanovich fan, and I fell in love with him. The 2020 series, the 2020 was it 2021? The 2021 Eastern Conference playoffs. When they were playing Philly, and he was shooting his lights out. He was playing phenomenal basketball. I think it was averaging somewhere around 25 to 20 a game. He was playing really well, and seeing him go to the bench and Murray starts and sometimes he starts, but then seeing that they say to him, you know what, you play with the second unit, DeJounte will play facilitator. And to seeing that being the second most used lineup aside of their starting five speaks to the fact that Bogdanovich is really a trusted player in that team, right? I see Bogdanovich similar to how I see who's that number 5 for Miami? And I forgot his name. Yeah, the number 5 for Miami guy. I forgot his name, man, and I'm so mad that I forgot his name because I was literally watching his highlights yesterday. But yeah, so you had a situation of which you have two really phenomenal offenses who have continuity, who have rhythm, who have star players, and who have a system that they both understand. But what made it, I think that's the reason why the score, I think it was 157, 155, or 159, 157. And the reason why the scores are so high is because they're still teams that are still trying to understand their identity, but are in a really good point in terms of they have a winning record and momentum of like winning several games on the trot. And when you have that and a young team that's just feeling itself, you have a recipe for a very entertaining game and for a very interesting shape of the future heading forward. I think we all know it's going to be a guard-driven league, and Tyrese is probably at the leading that charge in terms of he's expected to be the best point guard in the league because he's definitely the most, as said by several high-level NBA players, that he's the most fundamental basketball player that they've seen in a while. He's like a bigger version of like Chris Paul, and that's a massive compliment to give anyone, right? So when you have that, and then you have on the other side of it Trae Young, who is sort of the best point guard in the East, or was before Mitchell came to the East and took his title, but who for the past couple of years has been the best guard in the East, right? He puts himself in a good situation. He puts himself in a good, amongst good company by being alongside or going up against Trae Young. Because Trae Young is the standard of the East. He's going to shoot his lights out. He's going to shoot at least one logo 3 a game. And he's going to make at least one logo 3 a game. And he's going to facilitate that offense, and he's going to average 25 and 11, 25 and 12. He's leading the league in assists, I think averaging almost 12 assists a game. Or it might be Tyrese leading, but he's also averaging double-digit assists this season, Trae Young, right? And this is his best production levels in terms of assists ever. In his career so far in the league, I think it's like a 60th in the league. So we have in our hands a situation of which is very interesting because DeJounte now understands his role. He's averaging 25, Tyrese is healthy and he's playing well, and he has a supporting cast on a roster. Right, he has a supporting roster that backs his skill set, that suits his way of playing. And the franchise genuinely believes we have a player who's going to lead us to the promised land here. We just need to surround him with the better players, right? And then you have Benedict Mathurin is also coming into his own, second year, still understanding his game a little bit more, trying to expand it. So you have two really good teams, of which I believe, if kept that way that they are, probably change a few pieces here and there in a couple of years, I could see them possibly being the top teams in the East. There's no reason why they can't be. There's no reason why in the next 3 years, the Pacers losing like a conference finals game to like a Bucks, Because to get over Giannis is difficult, especially in 7 games. But I wouldn't be shocked to see both of them really go onto another level and really just start hitting higher heights. And for that to happen, granted, a lot of luck needs to happen, but they're really good teams, man. Like, they're super talented. They're super intriguing. They're super interesting. They're super entertaining to watch. They score buckets. They can't guard for anything, but they're really good at just getting to the paint, getting to the rim. If they can't hit it to the rim, kick it out, smooth the ball a little bit, shoot that thing, cash. They get it the other way down. Still can't guard the other team. Get it the way down. Bang, bang, bang. Couple of moves here, pick and roll action. See Capella go up top. An alley-oop, dunk, easy. Trae Young shoots it. He makes another 3. They go the other way, Tyrese. Weird shooting form. Throws it up. Cash. Like, it's really enjoyable. It's really enjoyable basketball. And you hope that there's more coming from these teams. You hope there's more coming from these rosters. But, I think true enough, only time will tell with these teams. But I really believe in what they're trying to do and what they have to offer and what they're putting together. And with that said, I'm gonna try and not make this a long episode, genuinely. There's another team that I want to talk about, and it's the Bucks. They seem to be finding their rhythm. They seem to be finding their flow. I remember in episode 1, I said that it doesn't look like it's making sense. It doesn't look like it's gelling. I'd based it off of prior word I'd heard around the league and around one of my mates, of which they said, their pick and roll game is going to be very interesting. Still haven't seen much of it, Sure, I've seen Giannis, drive to the paint, kick out, find Dame shoots it. But I think they're finding, they've had less time to gel, but they seem to be able to get a bit more of an understanding of each other's games and each other's skill sets. Like, okay, he likes it there, that's his spot. This moment, I think Dame said it, made a comment and said, I'm learning how to let the other guy take over the game and have my moments as well. It's like chemistry. They're building chemistry in terms of, I'm not at a point of it yet. I understand when to take over a game when I have another tier 1 player next to me, another top 75 player next to me. So that's really tough. But they seem to be playing better and better. The team looks a lot more fluid, definitely compared to the first 4 or 5 games. So we are in the point of which there's hope there. Definitely. I think there'll always be hope if you have two top 75 players. Right? But I think now they look good and they look scary. And that's it for today's episode. There's not much, but I hope that I've provided enough. And I thank you for watching, and please do subscribe. And yeah, take care. Love, love, love.